since we passed our test and we're all knights now, it should be time to go on to the main story. Wait, what's this? There's another prologue chapter? And wow, that name sounds ominous. This does not bode well for us at all. But first, hairstyles. Yes, this is what happens if a female my unit chooses yes to putting on Cecile's headband. So, yeah, you basically have hairstyle that looks like Cecile, basically. Interesting enough, a male my unit that uses the headband will have hair that outright references Ike from the Tellius games, which is kind of a funny series in joke. Anyway, regardless of what you chose, now we get this scene. Yes, we all came this far thanks to Mary Sue the Terror. And of course, trying to take credit for everything. And now this thing that's coming up. This, ironically enough, actually ticks one of the boxes on the Universal Mary Sue Litmus test. If I remember correctly, it's something like, does Mary Sue modestly deny it every time they're praised for saving the day? Anyway. Oh yeah, sure you're not good at accepting praise. I mean, you're certainly used to it. For a moment I thought she was going to call her Mary Sue the Terrible there. That's odd. Yeah, exactly what she said. And now it's time for epic knighthood ceremony. Yeah, knighting ceremonies always have to be awesome. And that was surprisingly short for speech, but... And now you're all knights. No, if only they'd had like an actual shot of you all being dubbed like knights, that would be pretty cool. Like an artwork of it, but still... Yeah, this is still a pretty awesome moment. And Cecile trying to maintain her, trying to hold her emotions in. Uh-oh. Judging by the music, this is not good. Well, something definitely important has happened. We've been invaded. Just our luck, we'd have to get invaded right in the middle of a knighthood ceremony. So yes, we've got one more chapter to go, and like 5, this will be real combat. So looks like our new knights get their first assignment early. Protecting the prince. Just like they wanted to, but it's happening a little early. And inevitably, we are going to have to go and help. Yeah, of course, there are plenty of generic NPCs protecting the castle, and Jagan. Yeah, that's gonna save us. Wait, what? What? Uh-oh, this is bad. This is really bad. Katarina, what are you doing there? What's gotten into you, Katarina? What's going on here? What is this? What's happening? Uh-oh. Oh, no, don't tell me. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Yep. Something has gone very wrong. Katarina is not who she appeared to be, and there was a good reason she was staying out of combat. In fact, Katarina's real name is not Katarina. Remember Aine, who was mentioned a few chapters earlier? Yes, that's Katarina. and this is her mission, and at that, cue battle preparations. Whoa, that was a pretty big bombshell to end that on, but we've got some base conversations here. And everyone's pretty much reacting the same way the average player will be if they didn't see this coming. There were some hints towards this, as Mary Sue points out. Like, yeah, won't explain them, I'll let you go back and discover them for yourself. Of course, everyone's hesitant to fight their former friend. I remember when this was first revealed, when people first started playing this game in Japanese, and they saw these happening, they were like, what? Because really, from all the promotional artwork people saw of Katarina, nobody would have expected that she'd turn out to be an enemy. Actually, the last time Marth tried to escape a big attack, one of his allies ended up having to be left behind as a sacrifice. And judging by the general tone of this game, that's probably not going to happen this time. And yes, Mary Sue rehashes this whole thing, and maybe it's like, it's kind of reassuring the player, no, this will not involve any sacrifices. Speaking of this prologue compared to the Shadow Dragon prologue, it's a little different in that this one can't be skipped for obvious reasons, and why would you want to skip it? I mean, there are some pretty good maps here, and you get a lot of good experience for your new knights, so why would you want to skip this? All your enemies so far have been your own knights, and they've all just been training situations. It's all been strictly non-lethal training. Then again though, I will admit, that line was surprisingly badass. I'm actually starting to change my mind about Mary Sue at this point. And you might notice here, we actually have Marth. And I'll talk about him when we get to the chapter, but first we'll give that extra healing staff to Reese, of course. And we might need to juggle some weapons around a little bit. We've also got Est, as you can see. If you did the A version of the last map, you'll get Cain. Now, Cain is just pretty much a typical, for this point, over-leveled Cavalier. He's actually really good, so, you know, probably pretty good. But you might want to get some experience for Luke and Rhodey at this point. Est is a little different. If you've got Est, chances are you intend to use her, because otherwise why would you select the option deliberately? And if you're using Est, you might want to make sure she gets as much level ups as possible in this chapter, because of course if you know the Est archetype, the whole thing with them is that they join late and with weak stats for their starting point, but with ridiculously good growth rates. I'll actually show you Est's growth rate when she actually joins, but believe me, when you see your growth rates, your head is going to explode. Est does have quite a few issues in this game, mostly because just the other Pegasus Knights you get are a little too good. But, I mean, by all means, if you want to use her, then go ahead. Now there's Katarina here. Yes, she will be our boss for this chapter. That Elfire tome can be dangerous. You want to keep away. And now we have Weehihi guy, who again is channeling Death Note there. I'm still not entirely sure if what he means by that, but I'm guessing, that he let the bandits attack the village, and then let Katarina's group defeat them, so that Katarina would look more trustworthy in Marth's eyes, and so that Katarina could get close to him. Now, as to why someone wants to assassinate Marth, we don't know at this point. And now we've got another tutorial. This is our first chapter with map save points. Yes, map save points returned from Shadow Dragon. They're pretty much, again, the battle save system from Radiant Dawn, except limited. And a lot of people have complained about them as being un-Fire Emblem, but I can't really complain, especially since, you know, anything that means we don't have to restart the chapter every time someone dies is good with me. Now, you saw Marth there, so our main protagonist finally decides to show up. And interestingly, here's the thing I find about Marth. Marth's progression from between Shadow Dragon and this game, I feel is kind of a metaphor for this game's relative merits compared to Shadow Dragon. In Shadow Dragon, Marth was an okay unit, but kind of meh, and he certainly had some flaws, most notably being his skill stat, which, on virtue of its really low base, meant he usually had some serious problems in that area. But in this game, Marth has improved quite considerably, and he's actually a really good character to use. You actually use him now because you want to, not because you're forced to. And hey, I like to think of that as a metaphor for how much this game has improved since Shadow Dragon. You know, ignore me speaking like that. Basically, just look at those growths and you can tell Marth has improved an awful lot in this game. 60% strength growth, that is great, but coupled with 65 skill and speed, and an absolutely amazing luck growth, it means that he can deal damage, he can dodge, he can double, and unlike Shadow Dragon, he doesn't suffer from skill problems, because as you can see by the base stats, his base skill is considerably higher than it used to be. I believe it was about 4 in Shadow Dragon, and that led to some pretty serious problems. But now, he's got almost no chance of being skill screwed, so that's certainly a plus. Of course, he's weak in the defense area, but in other areas, he's actually really good. And unlike in Shadow Dragon, he's actually got a shot at reaching his caps, which he pretty much couldn't do back then. Speaking of his caps, Marth's class works pretty much the same way as it did back in Shadow Dragon. He still can't promote, but this time, he doesn't really need to. He can reach a maximum level of 30 instead of 20, and if you see by his average stats, again, he doesn't actually need a promotion that much in this game. Also another thing, those caps might seem pretty lackluster. Later in the game, Marth will get an item that gives him a permanent +2 to every single stat, and they break his caps. I won't tell you what that item is, because that's kind of a spoiler, but once he gets that, which admittedly is very, very late in the game, his caps are essentially 28 instead of 25, and when that happens, he can pretty much take on even the final boss on equal terms. He's that good. So, again, to sum up, Marth improved massively since Shadow Dragon, and now he's actually worth training. Not because you're forced to use him, but because you actually will want to use him. Now that we've got to know our hero, let's see if we can't prevent him from being assassinated, shall we? Funnily enough, I stopped just as Marth was just about to show off his stuff. Unfortunately, he's not quite good enough to double thieves at base. Speaking of thieves, this chapter is absolutely full of thieves, and there's probably a good reason for that. It means that this is basically your last shot to get some last-minute experience for everyone in the prologue before the main story begins. So by all means, oh damn it, why is he not getting speed? He turned out better in my normal run, and Ozma, what is it with you quitting with low percents and being awesome? I mean, I'm not complaining, but why must you be so good and make everyone else look so bad? Anyway. Right, now, see that bandit down there? Yeah. In hard mode, no, not lunatic mode, regular hard mode, he has a silver axe. Yes, these two bandits both have silver axes in hard. And that is really dangerous. So you need to be seriously careful on hard mode that those guys don't, you know. I was really worried that guy would attack Marth, but fortunately, yeah. I was about to say if you're doing 7 damage to Ryan, you're probably not that much of a threat. And Ogma, again, why must you be so good and make everyone else look so bad? Oh, I'm gonna have fun with him once we recruit him properly in the main story. Still, Ryan actually, again, I've said this a lot, but surprisingly bulky for, you really wouldn't think it, but he is. Right, now, let's get rid of these archers, otherwise Shooter's gonna be in a lot of trouble. Hunters, actually, but who cares? And again, yeah, like I said, lots of thieves here, and you probably saw a couple more appear as reinforcements. more will keep coming, and it's in your best interest to let these reinforcements spawn, because thieves provide an awful lot of experience, and as this is the last prologue chapter, it's basically your last chance to get ready for the main story. In fact, I actually find, funnily enough, the first few chapters of the main story considerably easier than the end of the prologue. That's probably because you're going from chapters newly created in this game to what was originally the start of the original Mystery of the Emblem, and thus enemies take a serious nosedive in terms of levels. But anyway, we're just fighting here. You've got to be cautious here, especially of these mages. This is probably the first time you've fought mages who are actually a threat to you. Also, those thieves, watch out. They've got huge movement ranges, so you've got to watch out for that. On lunatic mode, those thieves... sorry. Those thieves are more than just easy experience fodder. Much, much more. They have silver swords for one, they double and tear to shreds just about anyone they get their hands on, and if you're thinking, hey, I'll use someone like Draugr and armor my units to tank them, they also have Levin swords. For those who haven't played Shadow Dragon, no, I'm not talking about Levin, the Fire Emblem 4 character who is awesome. I'm talking about Levin Sword, the localized name of the Thunder Sword, which ironically also appeared in Fire Emblem 4. It's basically a magical sword, and yeah, with doubling and a magic sword, they're gonna rip through armors too. Coupled with their high movement, the fact they spawn as reinforcements that can jump you the turn they arrive, they're not nice. Not nice at all. But fortunately, this isn't lunatic mode, so I can use them as easy experience fodder. And you want to get Marth a couple of levels in this chapter. Ideally, you want the people you're actually using to be about level 7 by this point. But you can go higher. Now, again, watching out for that mage there. Now, I'm getting close to the save point, but be sure you don't whack the save point on a turn that reinforcements show up. Well, this is more a warning, but if you're playing on hard, don't whack the save point on a turn that reinforcements show up, because you might find yourself stuck with a save file where every time you reload, a reinforcement will appear, run in and kill Marth. Believe me, that's actually happened to me once. So, know when to use the save point. And wow! Again, Ogma, why must you be so good and make everyone else look so bad? I want to lure that mage there, but now I think it is time to hit the save point. I'll be right back after I've reloaded my map save, because there's actually something I want to show off with this. I've just come back to my game after reloading my map point save. You may have noticed that previously, at the point I saved, my phase would have auto-ended, but when I load, I'm back and all my units have moved, and I have to manually end the turn. That is weird. And see that? See those thieves that just spawned? That is the exact thing I was talking about. If I had saved at this point on hard, I may have been in some serious trouble, because those thieves would have actually run at me right now, and essentially I'd be stuck in a situation where every time I reload my save, those thief reinforcements spawn, attack me, and possibly kill Marth. Yeah, that's going to be a bit of a problem. Now, I want to lure those thief reinforcements now. And Katarina and her 2 thief lackeys, they're not going to move until you get into their range. And that's a good thing, because you don't want to get into Katarina's range before you're ready. Because that L-Fire tone can be dangerous, especially on the higher difficulties. That thing hurts. Mary Sue again displaying her dodging awesomeness, but maybe not her one-rounding awesomeness. Was that an iron sword or a steel sword? I sure hope that was an iron sword, because if that was steel, Anyway, at least easy experience for someone else. Probably Ryan. Now see there? You want to lock in Katarina's range. Don't go in there until you're ready. I've already stressed that, but I want to stress that again. Actually, Mary Sue hasn't got a level up yet, so I might as well let her kill the thief. Oh, she's only 6? Most of the time I'm 7 by now, and she is 2 points off maxing skill and speed. She is not even halfway through her first tier levels. Yes, this is how broken my unit is, and part of the reason why I've gone with calling them Mary Sue, because they sort of are. Anyway, another level up for Ryan. See, lots of easy experience here, and oh, finally speed. And also defense, but mostly speed. So again, see that little, that little stair-shaped thing in Katharina's range? Don't go in there until you know you're ready. Her L-Fire does an awful lot of damage, and usually when she does it, she'll leave the character on very low health. The thief will run up and finish them all. This is pretty tricky. So what you want to do is, you want to make sure, whoa, I didn't expect that to happen. Okay, I seem to have provoked the two thieves before I provoked Katharina. This actually didn't happen to me before, so I was actually genuinely surprised that this happened in my run. I wasn't going for this, but it made my job a hell of a lot easier, because now I can safely lure in Katharina without worrying about her L-firing someone and then the thief finishing them off. Believe me, that happened to me about 5 times. Because in my hard run, I tried to get Mary Sue to finish her off. And because of that, I had to keep resetting until Mary Sue would dodge. She had to dodge Katharina, kill a thief, and funnily enough, when I actually did finally do it, I got the best possible result, which I'll probably show off when I make a montage of my hard run. Anyway, Katharina's going to be coming soon. I want to make sure Mary Sue is the only one in her range because of this. But first, we have Tearing Shadows, a completely new boss theme for this game, one that is completely and utterly amazing. This even got voted on Serena's Forest best non-major boss theme. I'm actually going to just be quiet for a bit. I'm leaving the text here just so you can hear the whole thing. Awesome stuff, that. Anyway, you might notice, ow, see? L-Fire hurts. You might have noticed that Katharina, yes, she does have a special boss conversation with Mary Sue. And, oh problem, I just realized that Mary Sue will die even with extra healing. She has a special boss conversation with Mary Sue. You're not actually missing anything compared to her regular boss conversation, because her regular boss conversation consists solely of ellipses. Yeah. But I'm trying to find a situation where I can get Mary Sue to finish her off. And I thought, well, what better than to have Marth, start off. Yeah, of course, he was not dodging. I tried to get Riz to heal Mary Sue, but I pressed the button too early and healed Ogma instead. But he still leveled up from it, and I'm gonna win this anyway, so I don't actually need the healing. And with that, Katharina is defeated. But, yes, she's just going to retreat. There were a lot of people who, when this game first came out, actually were under the impression Katharina died in this chapter. She doesn't, and we won't be seeing the last of her. But for now, though, and there are also a lot of people who are wondering if you can recruit her in the prologue. You can't. So don't try. You can't recruit her here. Anyway, and with that done, the prologue is actually finally over. And everyone now expresses their disbelief, and Jagan is all like, I failed, please punish me, sire, lol. Yeah, I would have hated to have seen, what had happened if, he actually had to hold the fort. His stats in the first prologue were actually worse than they were in Shadow Dragon, if that's even possible. Anyway, Marth still believes that Katharina couldn't have possibly been evil, and I guess, actually, there's a bit of believability to what he's saying. It did certainly seem like that she didn't want to do what she was doing. And Jagan is going to say a question that's probably on all of our minds. Who exactly would want to assassinate Marth? Well, we'll find that out eventually. And yes, of course, so, he's saying, yep, we're like going to be targeted again, so obviously we're going to need a bodyguard. And who else but... of course, Mary Sue has to do that. Yeah. And so began the Altian army's slow descent into Gothicness. Anyway, and yes, Marth reminds us this is probably not the last we're going to be seeing of Katerina. When the time comes, he wants us to... You might have thought he was going to say kill her, but no, he actually wants us to help her. And now this bit, again, like I said, when you get the option to change my unit's hairstyle, or later on you get more options like this. Some of them affect the face, some of them affect other things, but you get to try it out for one chapter. And afterwards, though, okay, sorry, this is, oh, she hasn't even mentioned the headband yet, sorry. Afterwards, you get the option here. Now, you actually have to say yes here to change it back. You won't see an immediate difference, but next chapter it'll be changed. Now, in the Japanese version, a lot of people had problems because you have to actually answer yes. The question is, do you want to change it back, not do you want to take it off. I mean, not do you want to keep it, I meant. A lot of people thought they were asking, do you want to keep it? And you have to say no. No, if you say no, you will have this permanently until you get your next hairstyle option and say yes to that. Anyway, at this point, kind of like at the end of Lynn's story, every character who won't be immediately returning after the prologue gets a short word. I've actually seen both Kane and S's versions. But anyway, some of these are going to be significant to stuff that's happening later. Because, see, Ogma says he's received a new mission, and he must be heading to Groost. That is going to become important very soon, sooner than we probably think. Anyway, another thing about these characters who are not going to be returning immediately, they're going to rejoin with a whole new inventory, meaning they get their current inventory wiped. But, don't worry, it's not like Shinnen and Gatry in Path of Radiance where you have to make sure to pawn their whole inventory off onto someone else before they leave. Basically, yes, when these people leave, all their items are going to go into the convoy. So don't worry that you didn't strip them of their items, because they'll rejoin with brand new inventories, but you won't lose anything they had before. It's all going to the convoy. Except for Gordon. Gordon's a special case. If you recruited him in the prologue, he'll keep his inventory in Chapter 1. And just like the other characters in the prologue, like Luke and Rhodey, you'll see when we actually get to that chapter, but for some reason, yeah, Gordon keeps his prologue inventory. If you didn't recruit him in the prologue, though, he actually comes with better items when he joins in Chapter 1, so it's probably more beneficial to not get him in the prologue, actually. Anyway, now it's Sheeta, and she's going on about angsty about not protecting Marth. Oh, this might not end well. We all know what ends up happening to Sheeta when fanfiction is concerned. But, yeah. And now this is actually going to end quite abruptly. So, I'll just say now, for the prologue, this is Big Clinky signing off. When we next join, I will load my hard mode file, the one you see there, and we will begin the main story. So, see you then.